Hello everyone and welcome to another training video. This time we are going to have a look at the AS350 by Alpine Studio, the same guy who released the EC130 before, which has already been covered on this channel. And as usual, we are going to do a complete startup and shutdown first, and then little by little we will see the other aspects of this helicopter. So as usual, when you purchase the helicopter, it will come with a series of manuals. Be sure to read each manual so that you have a good understanding of what the helicopter does and how to configure it, etc. I've already configured mine, and you just click here when you see the hand appear, and there it is. You configure it as you want, so I'm gonna go with this here, heavy tab, maybe later chronometer. I don't want dual controls, etc. So you get the idea. So let's keep 2 mirrors, give myself a bubble window, vapors I'm gonna remove. Step model 2, you configure it the way you want. I want wire cutters, tail protection, wipers, 1, 2 wipers, belly lights, and the rest you understand. You configure the way you like. And augmented stability, as usual, I'm gonna leave it off. And anyway, this helicopter is not at all difficult to fly, so you configure it based on your operation. And as you can see here, you still have the tie down, so you just click here to remove the tie down. Now we're going to start the helicopter, and while I do have the real pilot operating handbook, I'm going to use the checklist that is provided with the helicopter, so that that's the document you're going to use anyway. Not sure you will have the other one. So just a few things before getting started. There is a friction here. It's modeled for the collective. You saw it. Okay, now you can move, and then when you put it back, you see it rolling. Now you cannot move. Same thing, if I move my cyclic, it does not move. Remove this, will spin. There it is now. And then when I put it back, you can't move. And the pedals, and here you have the fuel lever to cut off, so it has to be always forward. And this is the tail rotor brake. So for aft is applied, forward is released. And this guy here, it's instead of the throttle, you have the fuel flow. So here you are opening, sort of opening the throttle, but in fact you are opening the fuel flow. Now it's full open, and back is full close. And as you can see here, there's a switch. That's the starter switch. And then for the heat, okay, so when starting, of course, this is going to be off. And then here I see you. Same if you have the EC130, it's more or less the same thing. Anti-collision light, etc. Wipers. And there you have your radio, your instrument. So now you have a chronometer. Of course, start, stop, and then reset. And yeah, so let's start the helicopter. We've already removed the tie down, so external battery power. And by the way, if you want to use external power, ground power unit, there it is. But I won't use it. You just click here and it will appear, and you will be connected to the GPU. I'm not going to use it, but you know where to find it. So external power battery switch on, master switch on, gen switch on. So here when you press this button, master switch, this button is pressed, and then gen, and you see If the lights come on, once it's powered, battery voltage checked, greater than 25 volt. There it is. Okay, if battery voltage too low, ground power unit on. And check the warning panel. I'm in the BA model, so I have high hydraulic generator, step gearbox, pitot heat, engine oil pressure, fuel pressure, and bleed valve. Okay, and additionally, if I was connected to the GPU, I would have that bat light on, which I don't have here, of course, because I'm not connected to the GPU. So here, hydraulic test switch, press for 2 seconds to depressurize the yaw accumulator. Fictive. Okay. So test here. 1, 2, and there it is. Okay, so let's proceed. So cyclic control, unlocked, neutral free, you open those neutral free, collective full down. So for the cyclic, we are going to unlock it. Free control, pedals, and the collective, as per the checklist, it says full down, locked. It is full down, it is locked. Rotor brake. Now don't pay attention to the diagram here. Yeah, you can, but it's kind of a little bit reversed. Initially I thought this is how it looks. Okay, so this is back, this is forward, but in fact it's the other way around, as if you're sitting in the co-pilot seat. So don't pay attention too much to this diagram, just in case you kind of misinterpret the position. So I'm going to tell you what you need to do. This is forward, okay, rotor brake forward, and then fuel flow lever back, that's the yellow one, and fuel shutoff valve, actually you leave it forward and stays forward, and heating closed. Those guys here, you make sure it's closed. Now warning light test, press, and you will have all the lights come on. So I just need to be able to zoom out. There it is. And then you release. It's press and release. It's not like you press, it stays in. No, as long as you are holding the mouse button, it will stay pressed. So bleed valve check, here it is. Bleed valve in the BA. Remember, we have 3 different variants, the BA, B1, and B2, so it will be different based on the variant of the model. So this one here is the BA model, so bleed valve, this is how we check it. B2 version only, so if you were in the B2 version, you do the delta engine indicator test. I'm not in this model, so I will go forward. So gyro compass switch on, anti-collision light on. Gyro compass on, anti-collision on. It's very easy to start actually. So when I'm explaining that, it seems to take a long time, but fuel pump 1 on, fuel pump 2 in B1 and B2 only. Once again, I'm in the BA version, so I will have only fuel pump 1 on. There it is, fuel pump 1 on, and I start the chronometer. Now it says 30 seconds, but of course I was not going to wait 30 seconds, so let me walk you through this. And remember, I told you the fuel flow lever. Here you have that black switch. That's the starter switch. Okay, so after 30 seconds, you press and hold the starter switch. Okay, and then you monitor NG here. When NG is 10%, there it is, 10%, you move a fuel flow lever forward about 1/3 of its range. Okay, so you will move this lever forward, and then you continue monitoring the temperature, etc. And when NG reaches 45%, then you can release the starter button, and then you keep opening the fuel flow lever, pushing it forward until it reaches 70%. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So press and hold the starter at 10% open, and then at 45% release starter and continue to open until 70%. When I say open, that's this lever moving forward that I'm talking about. So let's do that. Starter engage, 10%, open a little bit at 1/3. I'm monitoring the temperature. It's the gauge just next to it. I'm holding the starter button with one hand and opening with the other hand. But you see, when the NG is just to its right, that's the temperature. Now it's at 645%. Release starter. Okay, that's the temperature I was talking about. Then you continue to open, and by continue to open, I mean you continue to push this lever forward here. I have key bindings to it. And already notice gen switching off and horn coming on, and there we go to 70. Okay, now let's proceed. 70%, lights out, main gearbox is out, engine oil pressure is out, hydraulic is out. Continue pushing the fuel flow lever at 350 rotor RPM, horn switch on. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just so that you can hear the horn, I will turn it on here. Okay, but because it's annoying, you wait until this guy here is 350. So I'm continuing to push this lever forward, continue to open. Okay, here when I turn the phone on, now it's okay, which means that if ever this goes down and down and down, then you're going to hear the horn indicating that there is a problem. So that's done. Fuel lever full forward, slide position, okay, the yellow one. And then disconnect any external power if used. Same thing here, you come here and then you disconnect. Ground power unit, you disconnect. And check warning lights go out. Gen battery, actually we saw it go out. And pitot heat switch on. It's more or less like the EC130 if you have it pitot here. And then check all warning lights off except bleed for BA version. Because we have the BA version, bleed will remain on and it's green. Okay, so next item, normal rotor range test, fuel one off. If you want to go ahead and do it, it's just the a few tests here. So fuel pump 1, it's just off here, but I don't have fuel pump 2. Okay, for BA version, fuel pump 1 test only. Okay, so fuel pump off, check fuel pressure remains correct, fuel pump light is on. So where it is? Okay. Hydraulic test. So collective is locked, hydraulic test switch pressed. When I press it, now it's covered. You have to remove the cover first. The hydraulic warning will appear here, and you will hear the horn. When you are doing the test, you disengage the hydraulic. Now it's useless to kind of do the hydraulic test itself. So you just kind of depress it, and it will return back to normal. Because in the simulator, you won't feel anything, hydraulic or not, you won't feel anything. So you press it to do the test, and then you release it. That is, had to be depressed. There you go. And then before take off, so door, radios on, lights as required, temperatures, warning panel all down, collective unlock. Okay, so doors, of course the is here in case it was open. So make sure your door and any other doors, okay, installed, it's closed. And then radio navigation systems on. So you just come here, turn it on. This guy on. Okay, and you will have your transponder code, etc. And then any light, if you are flying at night, you need the instruments. Here it won't make any difference, but this is where you use it. The taxi light, landing light, etc. This is where you can switch the lights on or off, position light, etc. Actually, we're not going to do any flying this time. It's just for startup and shutdown. So warnings off except for the bleed actually, and collective unlocked. So here you just unlock, okay, and then you take off. It has the speed recommendation here, the profile. And remember, if you are new to helicopter, on this very channel there is complete training for basic, intermediate, advanced instrument, anything that you need to know. And now shutdown. Okay, I want to show you something that's not in the other area but in the real one. Let me see if I can find it. You should know that. Just bear with me because it's I think quite important. There it is. Okay, you see this light always on. Look at the percentage here. It's in the green. Okay, it's in the green. And unlike other helicopter, which should be around 100 and like the Jet Ranger and so on, here apparently that's full open. The bleed valve indicator light should be off when NG exceeds 97%. So this light will be off when NG here exceeds 97%, and when it's going to rise, it's when you will be raising collective to fly, to cruise, etc. if you're doing sling loading, etc. So when it's above 97%, then it will go off. And when collective pitch is reduced, that is your lowering collective, the light should illuminate when NG drops below 93%. And as you can see here, it's well below 93%. That's why the light is on. But don't worry, it's how the helicopter is. You can fly without any problems. And of course, you set your altimeter, etc., etc., as you would do for any flight. Okay, so here you proceed with your flight, take off, fly, and you have landed. Now we are going to shut down the helicopter. Okay, so shut down. Cyclic control neutral locked. Okay, cyclic neutral locked. Collective full down, and locked. Horn switch off. Very important. I mean, not important, but it's going to sound very loud. Switch off all unnecessary power consuming systems. Okay, so I'm gonna switch off these guys here. Okay, wait 30 seconds until temperatures have stabilized. Hold NG corresponding to full low pitch, or reduce NG to 67 to 70%. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna same thing here, this lever here. I'm gonna pull it backward until it's around 67-70%. You see that bar here, red bar? I like to put it just below that red bar here. There it is. And that's why we switch off the horn, otherwise you will hear switch off gen, switch fuel pumps, then all other consumer circuits. Generator, fuel pumps. So gen off, fuel pump, and then position light. If ever you have any other thing that you don't want at this point here, switch off. Okay. Shut down engine by setting the fuel flow control fully backward. And then a rotor brake applied. We will have time for the rotor brake. So this goes all the way back. And you can hear. There it is, all the way back. There it is. Okay, so this, when it's windy, 170, you can apply the rotor brake, but normal condition, 140. So here, it's already below 170. So if it was windy, I could apply the rotor brake, but since it's normal condition here, I will wait for 140. There it is. Now I can apply the rotor brake. It's either using the mouse or you can have key bindings, except that key bindings will be applied or released. Okay, so I tried to map it to an axis but couldn't. There it is. So apply rotor brakes, bring the blade to a complete stop, and then release, and I suppose battery off. Now anti-collision light, I leave it on for reasons already explained in previous training videos, so that you know if you kind of switch the battery off or you leave it on when leaving the helicopter. So master switch off, external bat off. So when you do this and do that, there you go, you have properly shut down the helicopter. There it is, friction and all. So as you can see, it's not at all difficult to do an engine start manually and shut down the helicopter. And as usual, little by little, I will be covering other aspects of this helicopter. Remember, it's the AS350 by Alpine Studio. You have 3 models with the same purchase, the B1, B2 and BA, and this is the BA version. And once again, if you need training, I'm not gonna cover the basics because I have already training programs for basic exercises, intermediate, advanced exercises, emergencies, instrument flying. So if you are not familiar with helicopter, complete your helicopter training. It's all on the channel, all free, no Patreon, nothing. Just make good use of those training videos, and then you can familiarize yourself with the other helicopters like this one, the AS350. So I thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in another video. Until then, take care. Bye bye.